I actually saw a story today that, well, surprisingly, I didn't see it anyplace else. I didn't see it before this, but there's a story, I'm getting it right now from CNN, about a video of a South Carolina trooper shooting an unarmed man. And it is amazing how quickly this officer goes from get your license and registration to shooting. And you've just got to listen to this. So I'm going to play the audio here real quickly.
Can I see your license, please? Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
I just got my license. You taking my license?
So that's 17 seconds of audio. He says,
wow,
get your license and registration. The guy leans into his vehicle. He's,
the
he's
guy
standing outside of his vehicle.
Yeah, wasn't he pulled over in a gas station or something?
He's in a gas station parking lot.
So he's kind of in the process of getting, because people, whenever you say he was pulled over, you picture side of the road, and everybody's like, you don't get out of your car, But he was sort of in a gas station parking lot, probably in the midst of already getting out of the car.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure how the pullover worked, because I did see the first part of this video from LiveLeak, and it's like, this officer doesn't seem like he was sitting on the side of the road. But nonetheless, I guess that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
He goes from telling the guy who's standing in the sort of the open door of his truck or SUV or whatever it is, get your license and registration. The guy leans into the vehicle to get his license and registration, and he starts shooting him.
Yeah, the cop just starts screaming in unintelligible crap and then starts shooting.
Get on the ground, the whole deal.
And he continues shooting, too, as the guy has his arms raised, backing away from the car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is another important thing to point out. He's shooting towards the convenience store thing of the gas station.
Yeah, he has no control as to, what is behind his target, so to speak, and he could be hitting babies and gas tanks or anything.
Now, in this case, thank goodness, this was the department released this video. They had put him on leave last week or whatever, and they arrested him today. This is the officer. They decided that he didn't have probable cause or whatever to shoot, and that it wasn't worth doing. But I gotta say that, I wonder how much of this is. I mean, this is obviously above. This is a terrible thing to have done, and more than I would expect, farther than I would expect officers to go. But he made a series of bad choices, and I wonder how many of those
were not caught on tape.
Well, yeah, like of other officers, like which part of this is the bad part? So he tells somebody to get their license and reg, and then when they do, he starts shooting at them. He continues to fire off shots after somebody has their hands raised.
Yes.
He fires these shots, and so many times I've seen stories like this. These shots, they don't hit their intended target. This guy got hit in the hip. Thank goodness he's alive. And all this was a pullover for a seatbelt. Now, when they tell you that that seatbelts save lives, consider for a second this man got shot over one.
I was just looking. I seem to recall reading in another article that this trooper had other complaints against him. So possibly other incidents might have happened. But
why don't they screen them out?
The other thing that I don't think we've mentioned yet is that the officer is white, the guy is black that got shot.
Yeah, I mean, was the trooper? Right. Did the trooper have a series of racist things? I mean, do we know?
Or I don't know, or is he just, so afraid that every black person, because natural human nature is to profile, and when you're a cop, I imagine that when you deal with a lot of probably underclass folks, you just you see that everywhere. You're gonna profile people, and it's insane how fast the cop goes from the guy leaning into his vehicle to
telling him to lean into his vehicle. I mean, he didn't tell him to lean into his vehicle.
He told him to get his license
and registration. It seems like a reasonable thing that you would be, you tell somebody to get their license and reg, they lean into their vehicle, they might be getting their license and registration, right?
Yeah.
And if you're too chicken to wait and see whether they actually present a firearm, you don't deserve to be a police officer.
The cop had more than enough space and time to, if he wanted to, draw his weapon and point at the guy and scream at him without shooting bullets to find out if he had a firearm or not, and still be able to protect himself. But
Yeah.
this, I mean, it's just
He
ludicrous
could
how
have told him
fast
to
he
get
goes.
on a ground or a variety of things.
Yeah, and I feel like the reason that this video,
Hands up.
has been released and the fact that this cop is actually facing charges is because of the Ferguson, Missouri incidents. Now it's in the
Right.
public eye that, we got another white cop shooting a black guy
It
who's
might wake
not
these.
unarmed.
It might wake some people up. I think that the police now need to just have it. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Just need to have it written on their uniforms, or whatnot, instead of saying under arrest, say Allahu Akbar.
What does that mean?
Allah
Allahu Akbar. Oh, it means God is great.
Yeah, but what are you suggesting?
Well, what I'm suggesting is that the common statistic that you're eight times more likely to die by cop than you
by
are by a terrorist attack. But maybe some of these, like just stereotypical people are out there that are just everything, the terrorists are coming, and we need more security, we need more police, we need police state. Might wake the hell up if they see the roles flipped and see that the real terrorists are the police. You're eight times more likely to die by cop.
We just listened to the audio from a video where in South Carolina, a police officer just asked this guy for his license and registration. He leans into his car. The guy was out of his car. He was at a gas station. Leans into his car to get the license and registration. The cop freaks out and starts shooting him. The bullets are shot towards an occupied structure. And
Gas station.
Yeah, I think there were 3 or 4 shots. I didn't count them as they rang out. But, where are these bullets landing? I saw a meme on Facebook, and I tend to believe it. Like, in the country of Germany, last year, police fired 80 rounds. I mean, 80 rounds, that's the amount that they put into
one homeless
car.
man.
Yeah, here in the United States. There was another one where Iceland, they killed their first person in like 100 years. The police had a memorial service
For the
person they shot. I can't imagine that happening. Here in this country, they slam a handcuffed woman on her face on the pavement and then do a fist bump.
Right.
I think there's something really wrong with policing in this country.
Yeah, or
do they have a tough job? They have a tough job.
Probably. But there's also other incidents, too, where there's, for whatever reason, 5 cops shoot a guy and then they just keep shooting into his lifeless corpse until he's basically mush.
He will not be testifying against us today.
And there's many an incident like that where they just fill a car with bullets. There was the incident in L.A. where somebody had a hostage in a minivan and the cops just lit up and killed one of the hostages.
Killed the hostage.
As well as
it doesn't
everybody
happen
else
like that in the movies.
No. There's never time for backup in the movies, where there's plenty in real life.
Yeah.
Sean Grubert. That's the if you are a listener and you want to Google things, that's the name of the cop, Sean Grubert.
He just looks like your ordinary cop.
Yeah,
Doesn't look like any
30-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Just
really
had too much Red Bull and decided to kill somebody.
Yeah, you know what? That would be a terrible idea, to take a stimulant and then making those decisions. But he seemed like he had his gun out from the get-go. This is a pullover for a seatbelt, and he's got his gun out already.
Yeah.
When he walks into the picture, the front of his car. I would feel very, very threatened if a police officer came at me with his gun pulled. I don't know why this guy decided to come out that way, but
probably because the guy was already out of the car, would be my guess.
And he was, if I recall correctly, because I've seen the video, his tone when asked to get his license was mildly confrontational.
The driver?
Yeah, the driver. Mildly confrontational.
Let me try this here.
I don't mean like really confrontational. And then he moves very quickly back to his car. So much so that I went, when the cop was freaking out, I was wondering, is that guy going for a gun? Like, I don't, so it didn't
seem that way at all.
He shouldn't have reacted. I mean, I still don't feel like the cop should have reacted the way he did. I think he should have said, hey, stop,
Well, I want to listen to it here real quick, but first, let's go to Dave, who's calling in from Montana. Dave, can you hear me?
Hey, yo, long live Free Talk Live, man. Viva Cannabis, yo.
What's going on, Dave?
Hey, I was pulled over one time and my window didn't work. It was an electric window, the driver's side. When the cop approached the car, I opened the door to talk to him, and he pulled his gun on me and freaked out right in front of me, started screaming, stay in the car, stay in the car. I put both of my hands up. I said, "Don't shoot," about 10 times, and I said, my windows broke. My windows broke. And he finally calmed down, and he apologized and everything. I shut the door, and we talked through the back window. I opened up the back window.
Jeez.
And it freaked me out. I just think about it now. I remember the pistol pointing right at my head.
Yeah, that's really
And,
disconcerting. It's not like there's not a story every year from a police officer basically accidentally killing somebody who's in cuffs. You know, when you've got somebody who's in handcuffs that gets shot by a police officer, oftentimes you're talking about a mistake. And that's the problem with them having their guns pulled all the time. You know,
well, if they're that scared, man, why do they even got that job? You know, that's what I say. You know, if they're going to be scared about everybody going to kill them every time they're going to pull over, it's time to lose that job. That's not good for your mind, man. To live in that state for 20 years to get your pension is insane. That's why I say cops should have job term limits, 8 years. Go get another job. It's good for you, because being a cop for 20 years is mentally not healthy for a human being.
You know, I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's some good ones out there, like that might be good at their jobs that we'd want to keep around. But there's so many police officers out there that.
Yeah, being a cop, man, it's not. It's you got to be in the frame of mind that's not condoning to good human life, man. You know, and I could see guys that want to be a cop for a while, but to be a cop your whole life, man, it's unhealthy for you. Out of the goodness of our heart, we should give them term limits on their job just because we care about them, and we don't want them to get mentally ill doing such a weird job that they think they're going to get killed every day. So they're pulling guns on unarmed people in their car at a gas station.
Dave,
what kind of...
Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's like that story of there was a cop recently that shot, I believe it ended up being a sheriff's son who had a window that was broken and didn't go down, so he ends up shooting the kid because he disobeyed.
Let's play that audio here, Johnson, because
okay.
Hold on, it just kind of jumped ahead of me.
Can I see your license, please? Get out of the car!
Nothing. He said nothing, Johnson.
Yeah, the guy slowly leans into the car.
Is it slowly, or does he dive back into his car?
It wasn't diving. It's like he turned around at a normal rate of speed, in my opinion.
Can I see your license, please? Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
I mean, it's not. He didn't go super slow, but he just sort of turns around like, okay.
There's nothing here, Johnson. There's just nothing here, man.
Right.
I mean,
this cop freaks the F out. And I think that I like Puke's estimation here. This is about Red Bull. This is about somebody pounding monsters.
He's on steroids or something. He's seriously, he's just way too amped up.
Right.
Well, if you've seen the video and you see something else, I'd love to hear it. 855-450-3733, Free Talk Live. I think they should be disarmed. Disarm the police.
I agree with that.
Keep their guns in their cars. 855-450-3733. If you're not man enough for it, don't get the job, or not woman enough for it.
So while we were talking in the last segment about these, about police in general and some of these crazy over-the-top gun-happy psychopaths.
Because we listened to the audio from a video here where a police officer tells a man to get his license and registration. He leans into his car to get it. The police officer starts shooting him. Within seconds, it was just a crazy video, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Now, the officer has been arrested. He was relieved of duty, has been arrested. It's found that he didn't have probable cause for what he did. But I just wonder, this officer made so many mistakes, and I wonder, what are they being taught? I don't know.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Regardless of training, one of you in the last segment said something about police officer's job being hard, and I didn't know whether or not I agreed with that. So I wanted to see if I could
rumor.
Hard mentally is what I mean.
Find an article about it or somebody talking about it. And I found this article from theartofmanliness.com, which is an interview about basically it's the title of this. So you want my job as a police officer? And so it's part of a series. They have a "So You Want My Job" series over here on the Art of Manliness. So they ask him a bunch of questions like, "Tell us a little bit about yourself. Why did you want to become a police officer?" And this is answering this survey is a 29-year-old police officer from the Kansas City area. He's been in the department for 5 years, married, no kids, and the first police officer in his family. So that's the only details from those questions I'll get into. So he says, if a man wants to become a police officer, how should he best prepare? What is the process of getting accepted to the academy? Why did you want to join a specialized unit within the police department? What are the advantages? Are there any drawbacks? Blah, blah, blah. I'm skipping the first questions here because I think that they're kind of blah, blah, blah. They ask about what the hierarchy is like in the police department. But where I think it starts to get interesting is when he's asked the question, what is work, family, life balance like? And he responds, hard. It ends relationships. You do the best you can. That's really all anyone can ask of you. More importantly, that's all you can expect of yourself. You will miss a lot of birthdays and holidays. The people around you don't understand why, because they all work 9 to 5. Your loved ones will resent your job. It's isolating.
Wait a second. Hold on. So you work from... the police officers generally are broken out from 8 to 4, 4 to mid, and mid to 8 a.m. And sometimes they have different, but it's first, second, third shift, that kind of thing. I work second shift.
Yeah, there's people that have swing shifts.
It's not tearing my family apart. I don't assume you're going to have as much at home time as anybody else would have. You can take. You can get more overtime.
Maybe, unless he's, 5 years on the force, maybe he's climbed in rank or something like that, and he's now got to supervise people and work longer shifts. Who knows?
Lots of people work longer than 8-hour shifts.
Right.
I want to know more than, I have a job. It confuses people. They get very upset. My hours aren't the same as theirs.
But you have to say
that sounds pretty pathetic, is what that sounds like.
Right, but you have to say that if you're working one of these odd shifts, that is isolating. That's true of jobs that are also any other job that's not 9 to 5 too.
Yes, but let's not act like it's special.
I guess. Okay, so
it is not special that if you work odd hours that
people are.
It is special if you're working any hours that are outside of 9 to 5.
But that's not special to the police.
Right, it's not special to the police. But his point is.
Well, this is what my point here is that look, if this guy gets shot while he's doing his job, he's going to get a parade.
Right.
If you get shot when you're a third shift worker at a factory, you're not going to get a parade. And the reason is that we get
parade.
We give a special dispensation to these people, and their jobs are different. That part, the first thing he comes out of his mouth is, "I've got funny hours."
Yeah.
And that I am nonplussed by.
Yep. Well, he goes on to say it can be tough to relate to regular people. Sometimes when someone complains about how hard work is, you want to ask them if they've ever held a dying baby or been spit on. It's easy to develop that F you attitude. Fortunately, I have an awesome wife who gets it. That's rare, though.
Well, I guess you could talk to any nurse or medical professional.
Yeah, exactly.
Fireman.
He gets asked, what's the best part of your job? It can be a lot of fun if you want it to be. If you do it the right way, you really do contribute to a greater good. You will have the experiences at work that put everything about life into perspective. And then he says, gets asked, what's the worst part of your job? The human animal. You see the worst.
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
You see the worst in people. You will be asked to do what other people are too unskilled, unwilling, or afraid to do themselves. They will be happy to judge how you do it or criticize your decision, though. It can be very easy to develop a general disdain for people or groups of people.
Well,
another issue is constant judgment.
Well, wait a second. He's talking about judgment. Yeah, yes, I am going to second guess his decisions. That's kind of what I'm supposed to do as the public. I see so many bad cop stories out there. I really wonder, where are the good cops when these bad cops are doing what they do? I see videos, not this one here. This was only one officer, but I see videos of a police officer kick somebody in the head, and then the rest of the officers begin kicking the person. I want to know, where's the good officer in that department?
Yep.
Yeah.
Why? You would think that there'd be more bad officers in jail with all the videos I see.
Yep. He says about that pretty much. He says, "Don't get me wrong. There are certainly some officers that do wrong. There are a lot more that don't, though. Once you put that uniform on, people associate you with their past experiences and assumptions."
That,
Okay. Or facts and statistics and massive amounts of information and video every day.
I think this is one of the things that's coming back to bite law enforcement, and it's a good thing they get big paychecks and nice pensions. 855-450-3733, Free Talk Live. We've been talking about, generally law enforcement and the use of force and kind of the extra powers that badges grant. There's a story from CNN here where a police officer just went bananas on this guy. We've got a video. I guess it's from the front of his dash cam, and why he didn't get this thing erased is beyond me. Because
that happens a lot.
He gets out of his car, apparently with a gun drawn, tells the guy to get his license and registration out of his car. The guy leans in to do it, and he shoots him. That's it. That's how it went.
I will say it is a little odd that the guy wordlessly turned around and leaned in without saying, "Okay, let me get it."
Well,
I guess, but sometimes you make mistakes or you're frustrated.
I mean,
about
his
something like
only
that.
fault there is not knowing that cops are bloodthirsty, vicious animals.
Well, you heard him calling the
yeah.
guy sir even after he'd shot him in the pelvis. What you got to understand is that blacks are taught by their parents and community members differently about how to deal with police. You're supposed to use your Sunday manners. You're supposed to give as little lip as proper. Well,
that's my point.
He was just doing what he was told.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, you got to be, I don't know, more afraid, I guess. If you don't want to get shot, you got to learn that, hey, these people have guns and they're psychopaths.
If he would have said, all right, you crazy white lunatic, I'm going to turn now and get into my car and get my license and registration. Please don't shoot at me. And
I absolutely, well, okay, to be fair, in that situation,
not that
I
language.
absolutely would have said, my license is in my car. I'm going to turn around and get it now.
I've done that, and an officer acted like I was being weird. I've said, I've got, I kept my hands on my, I'm going to reach over. I know what you're going to do, man, is what he said. So you can't win here.
Well, I'm sorry. That is a win in my case. I'd rather have the officer
You're not shot.
Yeah, you're not dead.
Yeah, very true.
So thanks. I'll take that route. I don't care if the officer thinks I'm weird because I'm scared of his psychopathic ass.
I am not ready to second guess this guy who got shot because I watched this video and I mean, we can look at the things he might have done differently, but that's like saying, a man who ended up dealing with a bear, how could he act differently? This officer's responsible for his actions, and he deserves to be arrested as he has been.
And also, I liked, that it's so weird. Like, are they taught to do this where if somebody just moves towards anything you can't see, you just automatically assume it's a suitcase nuke and he's going to kill us all? Or maybe, because it's like, why do you automatically assume he's going for a weapon or a type of weapon that?
One thing I think we can,
because he's probably been overtrained so that when someone makes a sudden move, you shoot him.
Well, I think that police officers are told over and over again, if you feel threatened, officer safety is paramount. These kind of statements. This guy can claim that he felt threatened. I have a prediction. He will not do 2 years in prison.
Oh,
no. No, the story I saw said that he could serve up to 20 years based on the charges, but I don't think that's
But I think
happen.
a jury's going to say that, could he have felt threatened?
Yeah.
Yes, he absolutely could have felt threatened. This guy could be leaning in to grab an AK-47. But this is the sort of reasonable doubt. Would a reasonable person put in this situation assume that when you told somebody to get their license and registration and they're leaning in their car that they're going to pull out an AK-47? Yeah. I don't think they would.
Right. Clearly, who's at fault here is the car manufacturer for making a glove box that's so far away.
They should have made a transparent car.
Let's put our registration like in a little transparent glass box on the outside of the car so the cop can look at it that way and we don't have to reach for anything.
Johnson, you were reading about an interview here with a police officer about...
Yep. There are a couple questions left that I think are interesting and that we can debate and argue with. So one of the final questions here is, what is the biggest misconception people have about your job? This police officer answers,
That they
People-
protect and serve?
people that aren't cops think that they know what cops do. It's natural to quantify someone based on a role. It's a human nature to judge. So you become whatever that person perceives a cop to be. In the average person's head, a baker bakes, a bricklayer lays bricks. So it's only logical that a cop does cop stuff. All they know
What else would they do?
cop stuff to be is a combination of their own interactions with the police and what they see on TV.
Yep.
For example, people will ask me questions about a speeding ticket they got and have no idea that I've never written a speeding ticket. I don't know how to use a radar gun, and I have no desire to learn. That's just not what I do.
Wow. So he's not one of the fundraisers out there
Yeah, that seems
raising money.
unbelievable to me.
Right. Because he's part of a special unit. I mean, I don't know what special unit it is, but
Busts in houses.
he says, the last question is, any other advice, tips, or anecdotes you'd like to share? Just take a moment and thank someone who does a job that you won't do, that you benefit from. It doesn't have to be a police officer. Thank your mailman. Thank a school teacher.
Yeah, 'cause-
there are a lot of good people who do tough jobs. It's nice to hear that people appreciate it.
Except there's only one of those jobs
Right.
that ends up with the person shooting other people.
Right. Well, that's debatable, mailman. Also, people ask how to get out of a ticket a lot. There is no fail-safe way, but I can tell you these things, though, that help. When you see flashing lights, pull off the road to the right. If there's an outlet off the roadway within sight, pull off there. This is so we don't get run over. Put your hands on the wheel and roll your window down. You know that you're not a maniac with a gun. We don't, though. If it's nighttime, turn on your dome light. Be polite and honest. You don't have to incriminate yourself, but own what you did if you know you did it. There's a good reason for it, and explain yourself. Understand that if you've been stopped for it, that the officer has decided that they will swear under oath that you did it. Being truthful is respectable and goes a long way. And
Also, don't be black.
I don't recommend admitting to anything. Yeah, that sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be able to control the conversation by asking questions in a certain way, but,
Well, the best way to get out of a ticket is to be respectful.
Right. Be very respectful, but don't incriminate yourself at all. And if you can, if you can get the officer to be amused, this is always my time.
Oh, yeah.
If you can actually amuse the officer, get him to smile, laugh, without, making him angry, which is really something you want to avoid.
It's
so
a good
you gotta
trick.
be careful.
Yeah.
But if you can amuse the officer, you will get out of
That's
it
why
every
I
time.
always keep
Often.
donuts. Always keep donuts under the seat.
They love that trick. So, I mean, when I hear his interview, so I hear a little bit of the "I'm a victim"
Right.
thing in there, and it's amazing how
Yeah.
people who have more power and more rights than
Right.
the average
It's kind of
person
like Christians that think that they're being persecuted.
can be persecuted and treated badly. Look, what I want, it's not that I don't want people to protect me. It's that I don't think there should be a monopoly on it, because I believe that monopolies provide poor customer service, higher prices, and a lack of innovation. And history's borne me out to be correct. Now, what would competition in the area of law enforcement or protection services look like? I don't know. But I can tell you, I can't set up competition currently.
We've never had that chance. Yeah.
Right. Because that's the nature of governments, as we've seen them up this point. 9,000 years of the state is that they claim a monopoly privilege over a given landmass. And that's why. When you look at religion, I often use the example of Quakers and
Oats.
Puritans. Is back in Massachusetts, they were killing Quakers because they just couldn't have them around the Puritans. Now we all live together just fine. People of different religions live on the same street, and people aren't killing each other over it generally in the United States. Some countries they are.
Yeah.
They certainly are. But if you can have different insurance companies, you can have different cell phone providers, why can't you have a different protection agency? That's all that anybody's saying, not we hate cops. The point of getting the videos out there is that, look, police officers, they live in a different paradigm. They're not accountable. The job has perverse incentives. Perverse incentives lead to perverse behavior. And
Right.
that's the problem.
And they, a lot of these cops too, and a lot of the government workers in general, they thank someone who you don't want to do this job. You need to go thank one of these people because they're doing a job that you don't want to do, and they're serving people and blah blah blah. Oh, but let's forget all about the fact that we don't have another option because we can't have choice in these industries because the salaries of these people are being paid for by tax theft.
And we all serve. Don't we all
Right.
do jobs that are valuable to the marketplace?
Yes.
Doesn't everything get along better because we're all doing our jobs? Why is one job
But
better
Mark,
than
you
the
don't
other?
deliver the mail.
I'm a fireman, and I'm telling you this. Please stop thanking government employees. 855-450-3733. Perhaps volunteer firemen or something like that. I mean, they're doing the job without getting paid in many cases. 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live. Maybe Rodney can save us. Rodney from North Carolina, you're on Free Talk Live. By the way, the number's 855-450-FREE, brought to you by ProXPN. Rodney, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, thanks, guys. I hope you're not the B team. I want to talk to the C team instead. So I just heard your comments about the cop, I guess, who got in trouble for finally doing something bad.
Yeah, he got arrested.
You know, as a black man. Yep. So I heard he might not get convicted, but anyway, as a black man, it actually is sort of worrisome that all of a sudden there are all of these like shootings, right, by cops. But I think it's been like that all along.
Right.
We just happen to see it, and so now we believe it.
Rodney, do you have any system that you go by when you get pulled over? Everybody gets pulled over, right?
I don't get pulled over.
You just don't get pulled over.
That's the biggie. Yeah, stay and do the right thing. But I have been pulled over, and I've done the thing where I don't roll my window down a whole lot. But I haven't been shot, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's always a plus.
It can be a little unnerving as a black man getting pulled over, but so far I have been blessed to not catch it, right?
Yeah.
My thing is, where are the good cops to police the bad cops? Because that's the only way this gets solved.
That's the old saying,
cops.
who will watch the watchers?
Indeed.
Right.
Internal
So
affairs.
it's kind of
Will.
tricky. It's kind of tricky. You put your hands on the wheel, and then they shoot you, and they say you were jumping at them, and they make a lie. And if you don't have a video, it's your word versus theirs.
This
It's
is what
kind of a
amazes
bad
me about this situation is this officer got back into this car, I assume, and with the video camera, and I guess maybe it was tamper resistant. I don't know the situation.
Yeah, I wonder because sometimes that video just whoops.
Lots of times the video disappears. I mean,
well, look at it this way. Maybe the cop is so used to every cop, it's always justified. Well, he jumped in the car, he's lunging for it. I was right.
The
Feared
guy
for my
does lean
life.
into his car. There's no doubt about it. He could have been pulling out a dirty bomb for all we know. Suitcase nuke.
I honestly think it comes down to the public opinion since Ferguson, Missouri.
Yeah, I think it does in a lot of cases.
Because it's a white cop and a black guy getting shot who's unarmed, and I guarantee you it's bad press, and that town's like, oh, shoot, we don't want a Ferguson situation on our hands. We got to fire this guy.
Rodney?
The key thing is, where do you see the black cops shooting the white kids?
Interestingly, thanks for the call, Rodney. I appreciate it. Interestingly, there was a case in Utah, Salt Lake City, right after the Ferguson case, where a black cop shot an unarmed white kid and killed him at a gas station, and that didn't get any play. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it happens as often. I frankly don't know. The problem is that it's very difficult to get statistics, period, on police shootings. The FBI is the one that tends to collect crime statistics, and their point of view is police
Cops
officers
do no wrong.
Police officer shootings are justified. Why in the world would we only collect information on unjustified police officer shootings? So the justified
Right.
ones, we don't really have information on. There
And
are
who
stories.
determines they're justified? Well, the police themselves do.
Right. So we have conducted an investigation. We have decided we've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So were you guys aware that this officer, the guy who shot this guy, Officer Gruber, was already a holder of a Medal of Valor for his past actions in basically being trigger happy?
Nope.
No. I have seen departments give medals to officers in many cases to sort of cover up.
Yeah, after an incident, they're like,
Yeah, this'll smooth things over.
Exactly.
We've decided he's valorous.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.